In the historical world, armor and weapons developed in parallel in arms race with advances in defensive technology matched and often exceeded by advances in offensive technology. If you set your campaign in an earlier cultural period, then the default assumption for the D&D game, you might want to limit access to certain weapons. Certain cultures in your campaign world may be limited to earlier technologies than the mainstream, with Stone Age jungle dwellers being only the most obvious examples. Perhaps the barbarians of the frigid wastelands are limited to Dark Ages technology, while a 10,000-year-old empire is stuck with the Bronze Age technology handed down to it by its deity rulers. Stone Age cultures include the stereotypical jungle savages, as well as, for example, plains-dwelling tribes or Aztec-like empires. Bronze Age societies resemble the kingdoms and empires of the classic era and may be particularly useful for distributing cultures that worship the Olympian or pharaonic pantheons. These cultures have little or no access to iron and remain at a marked disadvantage in warfare against iron-equipped enemies. Dark Age cultures include most barbarian or backwater cultures marked by the invention of the stirrup, light armor, and relatively simple weapons. The Crusades era represents the last period of technology development, with the first flowering of the mounted knight, the introduction of the crossbow, and the appearance of plate armor. A claymore is a Zweihander, is a no-dachi. A greatsword, by any other name, would cut as deep. The gladius, the talwar, the cutlass, the jambaya, and so on. You probably don't need new martial weapons. You can use weapons equivalences instead. Oriental Adventures, for example, has only 3 new martial weapons. The wakizashi is simply a master short sword like the druses. The nagamaki is statistically close to the Gisarm, but lighter, less expensive, and lacking both reach and trip capability. And the Naginata is almost identical to the blade. Rahinan, Morgoth iron. This volcanic mineral is unique to the steep mountains of the bleak eternity of Gehenna, where it is occasionally mined by natural evil fiends called Yugoloths and other creatures on that forbidden plane. It forges poorly, making weapons that appear poked and pitted. However, Morgoth iron is extremely toxic, rapidly poisoning the blood. a slashing or piercing weapon made with Gehenna Morgoth iron is naturally poisonous. Solonian true steel, mined on the fourth layer of the seven mounting heavens of Celestia. This fine iron needs no alloy and shines with a silvery gleam. Many use unusual raw materials because armor smiths tend to work with whatever they have at hand. Elves and druids, locked deep in primeval forests, for example, find refined metal in rare commodities, surrounded by plants and magic. However, some elven smiths craft wonders out of their everyday environment. Bark. This armor is carefully crafted from the tough bark of ancient trees and is treated to prevent it from becoming brittle over time. Strips of bark are layered together over a quilted layer of felt or hide. Bark armor is more flexible than wooden armor, but does not provide as much protection. Druids can wear bark armor without losing access to their spells. Bark armor includes arm, leg, chest, and back protection, but it does not include gauntlets. Bond leaf wrap. Bond leaf wraps are each crafted from a single enormous leaf found on magical trees. A bond leaf wrap is inactive until worn for 24 hours. During this time, it grows into the skin, drawing water and nutrients from its host. Afterward, you can command it to wrap around your body. Bone. Bone armor is a cloth or leather coat reinforced with strips of bone, often cut from animals used for food. The armor covers the torso but leaves the limbs free for better mobility. Brigandine. Brigandine armor consists of a coat of leather plates, each plate consisting of leather with a strip of steel inside it. It is essentially a life form of splint metal. Buckler beetle. This buckler is actually a tiny scarab beetle that latches onto the forearm. Once it's attuned to its wearer, the beetle buckler is effectively a masterwork buckler. With a command word, you can detach the beetle. Then the beetle takes wing, darting around your body and blocking ranged attacks. The beetle cannot be ordered to attack, but it defends itself if attacked. Coral, commonly worn by warriors of seafaring races such as merfolk and tritons. Coral armor is not so much created as grown. Exotic and rare corals are shaped over time to create armor for a specific person. Coral armor covers only the top half of the wearer, breastplate and bracers. Swim speed is reduced by 10 feet when wearing coral armor. However, because of its design, coral armor effectively weighs 10 pounds less in water. Cord. Fibers of hemp or other natural materials woven and knotted into a thick, tough fabric are the basis for cord armor. The armor forms a complete suit, hampering movement but offering decent protection without the use of metal or leather. Cord armor is particularly popular among wild elves who often avoid curing animal hide. Vistana. This pair of metal bracers can be worn in addition to some other types of armor to provide an additional armor. You can wear Vistana with padded leather or chain shirt armor. Dendritic. Dwarven armorsmiths grow dendritic armor from seed crystals deep underground. Dendritic armor never reaches the smith's fire. Each suit of dendritic armor is tailored for a specific wearer. This superb armor is socketed rather than riveted together, leaving almost no gaps or chinks. It protects better than full plate armor, but is also heavier and more cumbersome. Dendritic armor constantly grinds crystal flecks off and regrows itself to its original shape. To remove the dendritic armor, you must break your way out. As long as you leave at least 5 pounds of dendritic armor somewhere on your body, the armor grows back in 8 hours. Lamellar. Similar to Sprint and Brigandine armor, Lamellar lies between the two in protective value. It consists of small overlapping plates of metal sewn together or stitched to a backing of leather or clothing.